Hi, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my trip up to Merrimack, New Hampshire at the VFW 8641 in Merrimack, New Hampshire for Chris Christie. I called it Unfit for Duty, and that's just where I let off. So I talked about all the beginning of it. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. I want to talk about the subjects, the topics, and his position on many of the pressing issues of today. Number one, he started with Ukraine, and he said that America cannot be on the sidelines of Ukraine and staying on the sidelines of wars happening in Europe got us World War II. And so we absolutely cannot stay on the sidelines there. And he also talked about Israel and said the same thing. We cannot stand on the sidelines. That if we stand on the sidelines with Israel, that Jews will all be killed. He also said he's going to Israel tomorrow to see it for himself. Well, I happen to believe personally that I will never support another war. I just won't. And not a war where we're sending our sons and daughters to protect someone else's border, when we can't even protect our own down on the southern border with the invasion that is going on there. Okay? He said we cannot nominate a criminal for president of the United States, meaning Donald Trump. He also talked about he had 130 convictions when he was Attorney General, I believe, in New Jersey. And, well, I know he's from New Jersey. And that he sent 12 of his own legislatures in the state of New Jersey to prison. And that he had perfect record of 130 to 0. And he knows Donald Trump is going to prison. He also said that all of the state legislatures in New Jersey, he used to call for their birthday because he cares about people. That's what he said, not me. He also said that Vivek would make us all wish for the good old days of Donald Trump. Yes, he did say that, and he really doesn't like Donald Trump. He said he thought he was a fraud and a fake, and you know his position on Donald Trump. So then he put out the floor. Come on, ask me a question. Well, Bob was sitting beside me, and I think that the people there knew Bob was World War II veteran because he did have a hat on that said World War II, and they had asked him if he wanted to speak, and so Bob got called first. Bob, I got to tell you this. Bob asked a question that had to do with Article 1, Section 8, Article 1, Section 10, and Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution about the state's right to defend their own border, because he also believes that we are being invaded down in the southern border by a foreign army. Actually, not one foreign army, several. Let's face it, they're coming in from all over the place. So Chris Christie's answer was, well, I would put double the amount of National Guard. I would put National Guard down on the border. I would double the amount of detention beds. I would double the amount of border security, border patrol agents, and he would put in more immigration judges. So in other words, it really wouldn't do anything. I have a feeling he's kind of fine with the whole thing, because all he wants to do is add beds and add judges. And he admitted it's a problem, but his idea of solving it is to hire more border patrol, more judges, and get more beds. How about we just send them back and we don't let them in to begin with? Now, perhaps that's what the National Guard's for, but he left it that he doesn't think it's the biggest. Honestly, my opinion was he thinks Ukraine's a bigger problem than our border. I don't. I am going to go out on a limb here. And there were other questions asked about climate change and about Putin and some crazy theories this woman had. And I believe, and this is just my perception now, I've been going to a lot of rallies. I've seen a lot of people. It is my belief and my impression of what I saw that the questions besides Bob's were plants. I feel like these questionnaires were either part of the campaign or had been rearranged for them, because it wasn't like, hey, me, and he'd like look around and pick somebody. He'd go, oh, okay, we'll go in there. And his person was already there with the mic. Now, I was watching that for a while, and I believe the people were plants. That's what I'm going to say, with prearranged questions. And it'd be silly to think that there weren't. Now, this could be almost at all of them, and I'm just catching on to it. But to me, it was obvious that these people were plants, that they were plants. I'm going to give you my impression. First of all, Chris Sununu was also there, as I said. And as far as I was concerned, the two of them are deep state operatives. I thought, I'm really just witnessing deep state stuff here right now, aren't I? I did get to ask Chris Sununu a question afterwards, and I asked him what he thought about RNC Chairwoman McDaniel. And he said, well, let me ask people if they know who she is. And everybody said, no. He goes, see, she's not the problem. Trump is the problem. I happen to like her, he said, and we're not losing because of Ronna. We are losing because of Trump. And if we get rid of Trump, we might start winning again. It's not McDaniel. I said, well, I disagree. We're losing our country and we're losing our party. And he says, well, I don't agree with you. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing about Chris Sununu. I will say Chris Christie does look at you in the eye. I found him looking in people's eyes. Chris Sununu looks in nobody's eyes. As soon as I asked him, it was like he's looking wherever he can go next. Ooh, somebody just challenged me. And I liked Chris Christie even less than I thought I would in person. I didn't expect to like him at all. And I had a great question for him, but nobody was coming to me. I'm already probably on who knows who's. Don't go to her list. I had a great question. I was simply going to ask him. I was going to tell him, actually, and then I was going to ask him. I was going to tell him that I believe he is running for president of the United States as controlled opposition and a deep state operative. Convince me otherwise. That's what I wanted to ask him. Nobody came to me. Okay. Now, it was a very controlled question and answers, like I said. And all of a sudden, one guy spoke out of nowhere. And he goes, oh, no, listen. We're going to get to you. We're going to get to everybody. We got all the time in the world. I'm not going anywhere. We got all the time in the world. Okay, so he goes to his next question, which I believe was a plant. And all of a sudden he goes, oh, his wife was there too. I found her as kind of phony as him. But anyways, all of a sudden she says, 2 minutes. And he says, what do you mean? She goes, we've got CNN in 2 minutes. He goes, oh, why would we plan CNN in the middle of this town hall meeting? Okay, well, I've got a hard, question. I've got to go on CNN. So thank you all for coming. It was great seeing you tonight. And remember everything that happens in this country is because of the 603. And boom, Chris Christie was gone. Especially when the people started to get a little crazy. Now, I assume he was on CNN. You can go and look. I don't know. I was there. I wasn't watching CNN. But he just suddenly had to leave. And left Chris Sununu there. And he knew half the people, And they were all pleasant to him. I didn't like Chris Sununu either. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't. He didn't look me in the eye. I will say Ron DeSantis looked me right in the eye when I've asked him questions this time. Vivek Ramaswamy definitely looks you in the eye. He gives you a hug. Chris Christie, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I was in the first row, and I did feel like he was looking me in the eye. I do feel when I was going, he responded to me, because I might have sighed to some of the stuff that he mentioned, especially we have to go to Ukraine. I went, so that might have had some sound effects there. And I did feel like he was looking at me in the eye. I never thought Chris Sununu was looking at me in the eye. And that was my impression. I will say, I feel like the room was filled with people who voted for Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. And that was sort of all I needed when it came to Mr. Chris Christie. Because I do not want a Republican nominee that people who voted in the last two elections for Democrats, that just shows me that he's a rhino, he's uniparty. To me, Joe Biden and Chris Christie are almost no different. They are just two sides of the same coin, and they're part of the uniparty and part of the globalists. And to me, he's a deep state operative. He just is. So, I end every episode with the dink of the day, and today's is Chris Christie, because he is unfit for duty in so many ways. So you can reach me on Instagram and on Getter at Pickleball and Politics, on Twitter, which some people are calling X. I'm going to call it Twitter probably for as long as Twitter is Twitter. Twitter is X. At Pickle and Paul. You can go to my YouTube channel, which you might be on right now, Pickleball and Politics, or go to my website, pickleballandpolitics.com. Okay, you got my review of Chris Christie. There you go. I'm a one and done with Chris Christie. That is for sure. I would not vote for him. Period. Okay, until next time, thanks for joining me on Pickleball and Politics.